Hello everyone, I'm going to show you how I managed to achieve the splits. Many of you have seen me do the splits quite a lot on Facebook now, probably getting annoyed with it. Anyway, here's a quick warm up on how to do it. I'm going to be doing a combination of different types of stretching. To start off with, knee raises, slowly building it up. I'm actually hitting my shoulder at this point. This is just to loosen off my hip joints and the muscle, obviously in the legs. This helps loosen off the hamstrings, believe it or not, even though you're using the quads and the hip flexor. But it's important to loosen the joints and the actual joints as well as the muscle, because you've got to get used to these positions. So now I've done that, now go into deep squats. Slowly, start off with and pushing up quite quick. This is again just to loosen off the hips and to stretch hamstrings, the quads and the hip flexor again, which I think is the psoas muscle. I'm not sure, the deep core muscles. So after 10 of them, I'm going down to hamstrings now. Generally, people find that if you've done squats before hamstrings, you can actually go a little lower than normal anyway. Don't forget to twist the sides. It's very important. I do neglect the sides, to be honest, so even though I can do the splits, I can't kick very high as easily as I should. I go a bit wider in my stance down the squats. This time just sitting down, relaxing into it. And again on the hamstrings, you see I'm getting a little bit further. And go deeper again. Slightly wider stance. You notice I'm not quite in shikadaki here, or kibadaki. Kibadaki is with the feet facing forward. That's putting a bit more strain on the groin. And again, you'll also notice when you go a bit wider with the legs, you can find hamstring stretching a lot easier. Right, now to full horse riding. Bending down as low as I can. You can't physically get down much lower when your legs are a bit wider. Your legs do not go beyond 90 degree. And again on the hamstrings. So now I've stretched my hamstrings about 4 or 5 times here with very little effort. I've also stretched out the groin. Now go even wider. This time I'm pushing my knees behind with my elbows. Still sitting down as much as I can. You'll notice I'm actually tilted forward a little bit. There's a good reason for that, which I'll show later on. Now just rocking side to side. Again, just loosening the joints off, but slowly and controlled. I'm not doing it quick, no fast movements. That's just helping prepare the legs. And again, pushing the knees out for the groin. And again, the hamstring. So my hamstrings are now extremely warmed up. And so my groin is on its way as well. Right, now for the hip flexor again. And balance as well. This is a core stretch, core exercise. I'm going out to the side. You see my knees don't actually go up as high as they should. It's because I've been neglecting my waist. Obviously I will change that. And now the other side. Pushing my knee up as high as I possibly can. You can hold on to something. There's no real reason for balancing like this. It's just what I do. I like to try and do both at the same time. Now for the quads. Now, unlike most people, I pull my ankle up higher to my bum and straight to my back. So there's an arch in my back. This puts maximum stretch on my quads. It really can burn. You can go a bit deeper than what I have there, but I physically can't. Some people can go ridiculous with the arch. Yeah, look, pushed out, look. The quads are just as important. The idea when you're stretching these muscles is once you're doing one stretch on one side, you're actually relaxing the opposite side. Again, leg swings with the hip flexors, all for the joints and loosen off that hip flexor, the psoas muscle, which is the deep core, the ones that you can't see from the outside. I can actually kick my shoulder from this position, but I wasn't trying to. I was just doing controlled leg movements. Because no, my luck, I'll kick myself off before, which has happened many times. But we're doing split exercise anyway, not kicking exercises. This also helps with the waist as well. You know, see I'm turning with the kicks. Now side, if you notice with the side, I'm not going straight out to the side. I'm actually tilting my bum back a little bit. Again, there's a good reason for that. I'm just doing 10 on each side. I'm holding on, I'm not doing anything special. You do notice I'm not leaning down with it. I'm just kicking, it's roughly head height. I'm not exactly sure how high it is, but I'm not leaning right into it to let my leg as high as possible. So I'm stretching my waist at the same time. Back kicks. Again, roughly head height, but I'm actually keeping my back as upright as possible to stretch my back as well. I'm also kicking out to the front because I've got in the doorway. Obviously, if you're leaning against the wall, that's not an option. 10 on each side again. And you'll see the importance of why you do the back kick like this. This is also actually warming my arms up because I'm in the doorway. Obviously, if you're in a wall, we're going to headbutt the wall, so don't do that. Right. General stances now. Front stance. Senkutsu-daki or Junzuki-daki, whichever one you want to be. But you will notice my back heel is on the floor. My foot is facing as forward as possible. And I'm going much deeper than what we practice. Keeping the back as upright as possible. Hands off my legs. That's extremely important. Put the hands on your legs and you will take off the strain on your groin. Right, we're doing Zenkutsu-daki again. This time I'm going for the calf. Look where my foot is. I'm putting the heel down to the floor. Going deep stretch and keeping that back leg as straight as possible. But you can see it's almost like a leaning punch. My back is straight with my leg as well. I've never really seen this for myself. I just know it works. This is going for the calf, the back of your bottom leg. Just by keeping that heel down, it's stretching out the ankles as well. Now we're going for deep lunge. Now try, if you can, to straighten that back leg. Some people can, some people can't. As you see, I'm not completely straight. But I'm going deep and keeping my hands off my legs. So all the weight is going onto my legs itself and the groin and the hip flexor. You can see I'm clearly bent there. So it's like a long lunging stance. Now I'm going to go into Kokotsu-daki. Back stance. Unlike what we practice, back heel on the floor. You go as long as you possibly can. Keeping bend on both knees. Don't straighten the knees yet. Pushing the bum back. Knees out from each other. So separating the knees away from each other. Again, hands off those legs. So you're stretching the groin and the front leg basically, while putting weight on the back leg as well. This, I believe, is called a Cossack stretch. If you can, you got to keep that back heel on the ground as much as you can. And you can push your knee behind. But the main thing is you're actually stretching that straight leg. Be very careful with this one, because the heel on the ground makes a massive impact on the stretch. As soon as you release that heel, it will take a lot of the pressure off. So you've got to be extremely careful. Now just rocking again, just to loosen off the hips again. I have no idea what this stretch is called. It's basically half a front split. rather than tucking my leg in the front, I'm keeping my leg flat on the floor, and the knee, sorry. Just back up as straight as possible. And then I go down. When you go down, you actually release the legs, the pressure on the groin. Now going out to the side. Again, this is trying to help my waist movement, which I neglect seriously bad. You can see now on the knee, look. So it's normal knee position with the back leg straight. Back as straight as possible. I'm holding it for roughly about 10 seconds on most of these stretches. Obviously, I'm counting in my head, so I don't know how accurate it is. And down again. You can straighten your arms out as much to lie down. And the waist again. Let's say holding for about 10 seconds. So that's half the front split. You've done both sides of the front split without even realizing the Cossack and that stretch. Now this is preparation for a side split, but only half of the position, obviously. Or you could do this on a table with one leg on the table. You'll notice my hip, well, you can't really see, my hip is actually pointing backward a bit. The reason for this is it's physically impossible for most people to be a perfect 180 degree because of the hip, the pelvic bone is curved, and the ball joint of your femur bone, they will actually rub together against each other, so you cannot physically do it. Butterfly stretch, one of my favourite ones. You've seen this now God knows how many times from me. I do it in every form. You've seen me put weights on it now. I can lift a human being up heavier than me on my knees by doing this. So first of all, when you're going down forward, you're actually releasing the groin a bit. Found this one now, look, arching my back actually puts a hell of a lot more pressure on your groin. For the same reason I said, because you can't physically move into that position, so it really does strain. Right, the usual foot at the side. If you see, my ankle is off the floor. I'm pushing down on my calf and my knee. And the knee can't touch the floor, obviously, because of the shape of your leg. I'm also leaning from the hip flexor, not from my back. I show you my leg a bit. But you can see my head is actually going past my knee joint. That's how flat my body is. The back automatically curves. You cannot physically get around that. You can see how easy my arms are going past my ankles. But I've literally stretched my hamstrings God knows how many times now, as you've seen. The same the other side. Feet together. Now feet together is a lot harder. The strain becomes a lot more. But obviously not much of a problem once you've warmed up. For me anyway, this is obviously for more advanced stretching, but every stretch I've done here you can all do at whatever level you are at. I've not done anything that the body cannot physically do. Now leg swings again, just motivating the hip joints, keeping everything warm. And now it's time for the splits. Got my bow staff, but bow staff is 6 foot tall to give you an idea of how far the chairs are. I have to push the chairs a bit further away because my feet can't fit in there. I've got about a 6'4", 6'5" reach with my legs in splits. The distance of the chairs makes a big difference to how much strain goes on your legs.
I'm not dead.
So here's the front split. in my personal opinion, the front splits are more important than the side splits for kicking. If you look at the foot position, the anchoring point is the front leg, where you've twisted your foot round. Your kicking foot is the back foot, which is sideways. So you think of a round kick, your foot sideways is what's hitting the person, and you've twisted your ankle all the way round. Right, box split. It takes me a little while to adjust. The pole, by the way, is so I've got something to hold on to be able to turn myself around. Otherwise it'll be a very, very long video of me getting up and down, up and down, up and down. It's never a wise idea. This is box split with the feet facing up. I do actually fall over. Oh dear. That happens a lot in the box split. Like I say, you cannot physically get in a full 180 degree. Your hips are pointing out slightly, so your balance is very tough. Well, this is my first failed attempt at the straddle split, side split. And that hip position is absolutely vital on this. You see, that's going straight down, and now I tilt my bum, so I'm sitting back into it, which is why the waist is not pointing directly up. It is physically impossible. I've literally checked a lot of people now who are famous for this, and you will see the same stance on their hips. They probably disguise it a little better than what I do with camera angles and whatnot, but it is physically impossible. Although I think women have a different hip shape, so they can be a little more flexible at an elite level. As is right leg front splits. Right leg hamstring is the one that I've had snapped twice on me now, so it's never going to be as good as my left. As you can see, it's not much of a problem still. Alright, so now I tried the side splits again. Now I've had more of a warm-up. This may take several attempts once you are actually at this level. You see, I've shown you now with a hip position. I could have spoke during this, but obviously I'm doing a voiceover. I just didn't feel up to it. So here's going directly down, look. You can see my leg is starting to lock with my hip. So go down, look. It's locking. All I'm going to do now, look, is sit back and I drop a couple of inches just by doing that, look. Just because it's allowing the bones to go round each other. It is where I've been going wrong for decades. So now I'll try again. Just having to remind myself of the position, basically. As you see, my feet don't quite fit in the chair, so I have to push them a little bit. Take one hand off the bar. 2 hands off the bar. This is the first time I've ever managed this, by the way. With my hands off the bar. I'm extremely proud to be able to do this now. I've tried for decades. I've never been able to do that even in my childhood. And I did it again, look, different camera angle so you can see my foot position. And I go really brave. So find my weight and get rid of the pole so you can see everything. Hands on the legs does take pressure off my hips a little bit more. As you can see, yeah. Anyone can do this with practice.